explain the legislative framework where this is to prevent any labor issues if officers want to disagree with it. So it starts off in the second last paragraph to say the National Strategic Intelligence Act, Act number 39 of 1994, in section 2, capital A, 1, small a and small b, is very specific that employees of an organ of state may be vetted. The city of Ekurhuleni is considered an organ of state as envisaged in this act, and therefore all employees of EMPD are included to be vetted. The South African Police Services Crime Intelligence Section has been instructed or appointed to perform the vetting of all municipal police services by the National Police Commissioner, and the standard forms as printed and issued by the government printer shall be used, e.g. SAP 91 inquiry. And then on page 48, the process to be followed. The annual vetting process for EMPD shall start on 1 January 2022 and be concluded by 28 February 2022. Disciplinary action will be instituted against any non-compliance. During this process, each divisional head shall be responsible to ensure that all employees in their respective divisions' fingerprints be taken on the prescribed form, SAP 91, and submitted to the office of the Chief, Colonel Ivan du Plessis, the staff officer in the Chief's office. The forms will then be submitted to the Gauteng Provincial Police Commissioner's office for analysis and feedback to the Chief's office. And then it's signed by Commissioner Mapiyeye as the Chief of Police.
Thank you. Reading on the process to be followed, item 1 stipulates that the annual vetting process, or states that the annual vetting process shall start on the 1st of January 2022. My question is, was this process intended to be repeated on an annual basis? Was that the intention? Was that your understanding of?
Correct, Commissioner. Because in Ekurhuleni it wasn't done. It was only done upon promotions, and it was only done when you are initially recruited. All the other Metro Police departments do it on an annual basis. And we were the only ones who actually, when it came to light and during these discussions at the Portfolio Police Committee, we noticed that we don't do everyone every year. We only do the promotion part of it, and we only do upon recruitment. And therefore, the decision was made that this annual vetting shall be instituted and it will start as an annual for everyone.
And I see that at item 2, it states that during this process, each divisional head shall be responsible to ensure that all employees in their respective divisions' fingerprints be taken. This is 2021, December 2021. Please remind us how many divisional heads were there within EMPD and specifically who they were.
The divisions were Division Operations and Specialized Services, which have Commissioner Goodman Mazolo as the head of that division. It was Division Auxiliary and Support Services, of which I was the head as a Deputy Commissioner Spies. It was the Division Security, of which Commissioner Ndumiso Kwabe was heading the Security and Loss Control. There was a Division Licensing, which was then headed by Mr. Hamilton Letwaba. Sorry, I have to, in my mind, go back, make sure that I mentioned. And there was a Division Compliance. However, Division Compliance was vacant and there was no appointment in that position at that stage. The functions of that division was divided between the other deputy chiefs at that stage.
Okay.
So from my section, I had a subsection within me called the Warrant of Arrest section. That Warrant of Arrest section was headed by a Colonel Foster, and I tasked him and his whole team to immediately start the process on 1 January, taking my division's fingerprints. That was concluded in January already, the whole division of Auxiliary and Support Services. I then made him available to the other divisions to say, please assist the other divisions because they take too long to do this process. And by the end of February, which the chief's deadline was, a large portion of it was concluded except the southern region and the specialized services. Specialized services refused to have their fingerprints taken at all. This section is the section that resorts under then Brigadier Mkhwanazi. They refused to have their fingerprints taken. The southern region, the reason they haven't concluded yet is they are the largest region. They have the most officers and they were running late because of the volumes and the officers working different shifts and taking their fingerprints. So there was a verbal extension that we can carry on during the year with it. And at the end of February and March, Colonel du Plessis then took all the fingerprints that was already submitted, handed it over to the Provincial Police Commissioner's office, and they started to analyze it. In the South African police side, it took a long time. It was like 4 to 5 months to took it, but it was distributed to different criminal record centres like Soweto, Johannesburg, Tshwane, and East Rand, because of the huge volume that came in. And then it started to trickle back, and eventually, once it started coming back, one of my sections, Colonel van Rooyen, which is the human resource liaison person, her section was then tasked to scan and capture the returns, which is the SAP 69 forms, which is the criminal records. It will state on the front page either illicit activity recorded or no illicit activity recorded. If it says no illicit activity recorded, then there's no record of SAPS looking for you or having any record of you. And if there's illicit activity recorded, there will be a SAP 69, which is the actual record, will then be attached to the back of that. So Colonel van Rooyen and her section started to capture all of these returns as it is. Eventually, there was more than 3,700 in total. I don't have the exact figure, but I've got a spreadsheet with the actual names on it that was submitted to HR. And in this process, when we got to a stage where it's a year later now, we're supposed to start the next session of vetting again, but we haven't even concluded the first session again. And I was then tasked by Chief Mapiyeye to give feedback on this specific status. Where in the project are we? Because we are capturing, my section is capturing it. I then prepared a feedback where I presented and I started. We were at a meeting which we call PEXCO inside. It's Police Executive Committee. It's the Chief of Police with his deputy chiefs and the head of internal affairs that is together. And at this meeting where we were present, the chief was chairing and I was presenting the feedback of this or where we are. The moment I started to give feedback, Brigadier Mkhwanazi was sitting right opposite me. And he started to scream with even spit and froth that comes out of his mouth at me, where he was screaming, extremely disrespectful towards me, screaming that he doesn't have a criminal record, and I'm saying he's got a criminal record. And I said to him, but I'm not saying you've got a criminal record. I'm giving feedback on the status of the fingerprints. What I do say is that your section didn't provide the fingerprints and they refused to provide the fingerprints. I'm not saying you have a criminal record. And he just kept on screaming at me. In front of all of us in the meeting, he physically took his phone out and he started phoning. And he speaks, you can clearly hear, he speaks to the city manager, Imogen Mashazi. And he puts the phone down and he says, the city manager says this process will stop immediately. And he turned around and he walked out in an extremely disrespectful manner. Closed the door. We were all still shocked that a senior officer can actually even act in this manner. And the Chief of Police, Commissioner Mapiyeye, then calmed us all down and says, stop, don't discuss further anything here. He will go and speak to the city manager afterwards and he will calm everything down. We must just carry on doing our work. And from that meeting then, the very next day, I received an email from Kasheka, who is the HOD of HR, wherein she stated that the process and we must submit everything to them. At that stage, I have already prepared what we call a council item. It is a draft item that we can report to council. Everything is already in the item, the wording, the background, the discussion, up to resolutions even, but it's still in the draft form. It states at the top draft as well. Attach this list of officers with a graph of what the crimes are, what the officers are accused of, just redacting their names, and the spreadsheet itself has been encrypted with a password that no one can really open it if they do see it. And we submitted that as a proposal to say, we from a Metro Police side thinks that HR must deal with these officers in the following manner. And the proposal that we in the draft made is that the officers must be offered the chance to provide proof that they have been expunged, because there is in law an expungement process, and it's possible that they've been expunged and the certificate. So we propose, because we know how long the process takes in the Justice Department, is to give them a period of 6 months, provide proof of expungement, and if you do not have proof of expungement, that we then start the initial proceedings at the end to either dismiss or to take disciplinary actions against the officers who've got criminal records. So then that day a meeting was then set up with HR. However, it was postponed at the last minute to the next day, and we then met at Kasheka's boardroom in Germiston.
Well, before you continue, Commissioner, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want to take you back to Brigadier Mkhwanazi. And you said his entire section had refused basically to be subjected to this fingerprint process. Do you know how many police officers were in this section?
Commissioner, it's close to 200.
Oh, okay. Did you get any information as to how it came about that all of them did not subject themselves to the process?
When Colonel Foster and the group of officers that I've assigned, when they came back to me every day to give feedback to say they've done so many fingerprints per day and they all came back to me and says they visited specialized services officers and the officers were not there, and when they spoke to the supervisors said to them they're not going to give their fingerprints because it's an illegal process. So I received everyday feedback just to say that the specialized services doesn't want to give their fingerprints on that. And because there was also from some of the union members that came to see me that wanted to have clarity, because they say their members have approached them to say we're taking their fingerprints, and nowhere in the act does it say we can take their fingerprints. And then we had sessions with organized labor as well to say, but here it is. You know, it's in numerous different legislation that police officers' fingerprints can be taken. It even states in the Regulation 11 of the Municipal Police Services, it states if you refuse to have your fingerprints taken, you commit an offense. So we explained to the union members there was a proper process to get them as well of faith that this is a legal process. There's nothing illegal or untoward about it.
And the supervisors that you say you got, or Foster, was it? Was it Foster that was doing the...
Colonel Foster is the one
Foster,
that...
yes,
he was in charge of the unit that went to assist and
yes.
take the fingerprints.
The supervisors that you say he got feedback from, would those have been supervisors who fell under the supervision of Brigadier Mkhwanazi?
Correct. The specialized services concert, there's one of the supervisors there was Dion Singh. He was from the K9 Equestrian Unit and the Drug Enforcement Unit. He's one of them. And then the others, I don't know all of them, but there's specific people that I know that was extremely arrogant, and they just blatantly refused to even make themselves available to have their fingerprints taken.
Thank you.
If I may just pick up on that line of questioning, Commissioner Spies. We read Chief Mapiyeye's directive of the 21st of September. That's your Annexure RS 18, where he sets out the process to be followed.
Is it not December, Ms.?
December, did I say different month? 21st December 2021.
Correct.
I apologize for the confusion. And that is your Annexure RS 18. You state, as you have highlighted to the chair, that the Specialized Services Division under Brigadier Mkhwanazi refused to submit their fingerprints. You now have also made reference to Regulation 11, which stipulates that it shall be an offense to refuse to have your fingerprints taken. In his directive at item 1, page 48, Chief Mapiyeye indicated that disciplinary action will be instituted against any non-compliance. Are you aware of steps, if any, taken against Brigadier Mkhwanazi and or members of his division for the refusal to have their fingerprints taken?
No further steps were taken against them because in my testimony, as I will get to it, this process has been killed and stopped by Kasheka from HR.
So as of December 22, well, I'll take it's February, because this process was supposed to conclude in February 22. There was this absolute refusal to have the fingerprints taken, and you'd retired in February 2025.
Correct.
For completeness, at the time you retired, had their fingerprints been taken?
Not that I know of.
I'm going to, because of this line of questioning, I'm going to jump slightly ahead, and we don't have to project. You have Annexure RS 21 appearing from page 61. This, you say, are the results of, or the status of all members whose fingerprints, who were vetted. And
Correct.
you have alleged explaining their respective status. My question for the moment is, do we read Annexure RS 21 to be exclusive of all members falling under the Specialized Services Division? Is that a correct interpretation?
Now, RS21 is the full database of
Yes.
everyone. That is the 3,762 members.
Yes.
But of that, and it's color-coded then, the no illicit activities is marked in green.
No, you will get to that part. I just want to know those 3,700 you list.
Yes.
At RS21, you provide the status of each. My question is it a correct reading that this list does not include any member of Brigadier Mkhwanazi's Specialized Services Division?
Now, their names will be there under outstanding,
Okay.
marked in yellow, because the ones marked in yellow, we haven't yet taken their fingerprints. Those are the ones who hasn't their fingerprints taken. There is obviously some that has been off sick or not at work and their fingerprints couldn't be taken. So out of the 211 that is outstanding at that stage, those include, and you will see at the divisions and sections that it's specialized services. There is here and there another individual which is from another section, but it is because of reason.
Okay.
The southern region is, for instance, the one that they were still busy. Their fingerprints been taken and late submitted. We haven't got the results back.
Okay, thanks for that.
I'm sure, Ms. Sildo, we are not expected to actually see what's on here, not with the size of the lettering.
It shall be reproduced in what, A3 and refined,
unless
yes.
you arrange magnifying glasses for us.
Indeed, Chair. We have thought of how to engage with this for the listeners. It's difficult to work through it. We cannot project it on the screen because it contains personal information of members.
I doubt that we really have to
Then we
read
don't
this.
have to.
I think it's enough to just get an idea of the numbers by looking at the color coding. That's
Okay.
enough for our purposes.
Then,
So don't worry about
having to
three
share,
or whatever
yes.
else. Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Silo, if I may just follow up on an
Yes.
earlier question, just in case it wasn't answered. You were asked, Commissioner, whether the 200, the people that belong under or that fall under specialized services, any of them had been fingerprinted by the time you left. And your answer was you're not aware if that was done. And I want to ask slightly different question. The directive, you say, contemplated that there would be annual vetting process starting
Correct,
from the date from 2022.
Correct.
As at the time that, and you've told us that that process was stopped, the 2022 process was stopped, so it didn't conclude. By the time you left, had any vetting at all, the annual vetting that was contemplated, had it happened or was it happening at all?
No further. That 376 that we have vetted from inside the department, that was the only vetting that was done, and then the process to carry on from that was physically stopped, and thereafter no vetting was again done on criminal records. There is a later process where just after Commissioner, when Mkhwanazi was appointed as a deputy chief, then, and this vetting process was started, there was an instruction from the chief of police to the 3 deputy chiefs that we must be fully vetted. In that process, he again refused to be vetted at all, and Commissioner Kwabe, forms were supplied to him, and he started the process to be vetted. And I answered the chief back to say, I'm already vetted to a top secret clearance level. Here's my top secret clearance security number. My own security vetting has then, at a stage, it's only valid for 5 years. It expired and it was redone, and I've received my new one again. So I'm fully vetted to top secret, which now expires in 2030 somewhere. I don't know the exact date, but it's somewhere in 2030, I think August 2030.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Ms. Silo.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloyi. Staying then with RS21, which we will not project, it's color-coded green, yellow, red, and without giving any detail, for future reference, can you summarize what the color coding means? What is green, what is highlighted red, and yellow, the legend?
This is an Excel spreadsheet containing all the employees of Ekurhuleni Metro Police in 2022 that was used to capture the results of the criminal record vetting. Everything covered in green is when no illicit activity was recorded, and that is a total of 3,174 people. The ones colored in a light beige color is the southern region who has submitted late because of their large volumes, and they've already submitted 102 SAPs, but we haven't received the results of that 102 yet back. And then there's a group of illicit activity in a dark red, which is 275 officers that have illicit activity recorded, and then the 211 is still outstanding, which gives us a total of 3,762 at that stage. Under the dark red...
Sorry, Commissioner. In the red, that is where illicit activity has been identified, there's the total number, but then to the far right, there's another number. What does that signify?
So that's a lighter red, and it states awaiting trial. So when the illicit activity sometimes come back, it means that an officer has, for instance, been arrested and he's already been charged and he already pleaded and his criminal case is running. So we don't yet have a result of that person, so we just indicate it as awaiting trial because of the process is still ongoing.
Oh, thank you very much. Because it's just sticking out and hanging, as it were. I did not see the heading above. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Do you have in the list officers who have been convicted?
And what is that number? I can't quite read it.
It's 100.
100. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you.
In the list, do you have officers who have been convicted?
That's out of the 275.
So when you say illicit activity identified, the 275 have been convicted,
Yes, Commissioner.
and then the 100 are
Yes.
awaiting trial.
Yes, Commissioner. I do have made a graph which I presented at the same meeting on page 60, which is RS20.
Before we get to RS20, we'll get to RS20. Can we stay with 21 for the moment? You were still going through the color coding methodology you apply.